Hi everyone, today we have a very special guest with us here and I would really like to welcome her. Chante is a PR marketing consultant. She promotes genuine human connection between brands and the people they serve. So today Chante will talk about heart-centered marketing. Welcome Chante to the Radiant Women Retreat. We're so happy to have you.
Much. Thank you. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you so much for thinking of me for this.
It's
Appreciate
so
it.
exciting.
Hello to anybody watching.
Thank you. Well, so Chante, tell us your story. So you talk about heart-centered marketing, right? So what's important about that? What's important about promoting human connection between brands and people that they serve?
Look, it's been a bit of a journey to come to this point where I've kind of landed on that's the thing that's really important to me and the thing I want to stand for. And part of that is, I'll just give you a little bit of history and context quickly. And that is when my son started kindy, his father and I split up and I found myself a single mother in Auckland. I hadn't been up here very long. I didn't know many people, Auckland, New Zealand. And I didn't know very many people and I was terrified. I was terrified to feel responsible by myself for a child. And I didn't know how I was going to juggle, being there for him for everything he needed and financially and what his work looked like. And, and my mum was always available to take us to and from school. She was there, she was really there for us. And that was important to me. So how it all sort of came about was I ended up on a benefit. Like in New Zealand, we have a payment that single parents can get to help them. And I didn't want to be completely reliant on that. I wanted to find a way to feel independent. So I thought, what can I do? And I thought, okay, massage is something I'd done for years since I was little. And it's a real other passion of mine. So I thought, you know what, I could do massage from home. And then I could have clients when I want them and I could work around what my son needs. And so in a nutshell, I started my own little massage studio, right? But I didn't know how to get anyone to come. So I had this great business idea, but then I didn't know how to tell anyone about it. And that was the start of my journey with marketing. I had to figure out, as someone that had no money to spend on advertisements or anything, a way to let people know what I was doing. And so I went to YouTube University and I watched thousands of hours of marketing tutorials and videos and people talking about building brands on social media. And that's what I started doing. And I would just share. I didn't know anything about strategic marketing. So I'd just get online and be like, hi, I'm Chante. I love massage and this is why. And I just shared. And there was no tactics or techniques. And it really worked. Like people were totally inspired and, they just felt it because it was just real. It was just sharing. So what I noticed over time, though, as I've done all sorts of different marketing projects over the years, is that out there in the world, how it usually looks is very salesy, a lot of fear-based marketing, like you're going to miss out if you don't get it now, or that's setting up people for a sense of lack, like you're not cool enough if you don't have it, or you're not good enough if you don't have it, or there's all of this kind of psychological manipulation that goes on inside the marketing space and advertising space, and it never sat well with me. So I've just over time just got really present to the fact that there's a huge missing with authentic, heart-based, and when I say heart-based, it's not airy-fairy, like gooey, squishy, lovey-dovey stuff. I mean, just like straight from the heart, just what's really there. And it's missing today. And I'm sure you guys can appreciate that, yeah? Like when you see on Instagram and all sorts of stuff, right? Like it's just, there's not a lot of real authenticity in people's marketing. And I think our audience knows it. They know when we're being real. They know when we're being fake. And I'm about real.
That's so true. It's like so much of the marketing that's out there is fear-based. It's like, oh, if you don't get this now, something like you won't get a chance to ever be happy or something like that,
Yeah. And the illusion of, have you ever seen those ads where they'll say, like, they'll have a ticking clock and like, this offer is only for 2 minutes and 30 seconds, and like, we all know it's not, right? They're running their ad for 3 weeks, like, or for 6 months. Like, you just know that's a crock. No one's really buying it. So I don't know why we keep doing it. And my feeling is that if you just can authentically show up for your audience, people want to do business with people, right? And so you just show up as a human being and you connect with them. Why would they not want what you have? That's where I come from with it.
That's really powerful. And it's just like about that kind of connection. Once you have that kind of connection, people do understand, like, it's all about authenticity rather than 100 different ways to sell fast.
Yeah, because people like people that are like themselves, or they like people that they want to be like. And so if you just show up and they like you, you're like 90% of the way there, especially if you're your own brand in a business. Like, a lot of female entrepreneurs, and male, but we're talking about women here, but like, there's a lot of female entrepreneurs that we are our own brand, right? So how we show up is our brand, and it actually makes it pretty simple. Just show up you. Just be you, and then your tribe will, the women that resonate with that, they'll get amongst what you're up to, they'll love what you're doing, and the ones that won't, which is perfect, because they're not your ideal client anyway. And like, it just simplifies it, I think.
Absolutely. So what advice would you give someone who is starting out in their business and have no idea how to market themselves?
Yeah, a couple of things. So the first word that popped up for me then was share. Because if you're not sharing who you are and what you're up to, no one's going to know anyway. So, that would be the first part, just getting brave enough to start sharing something, and whether that's setting up a social media account. Like, it's free, right? We can do a lot of free stuff, especially on things like Instagram and Facebook, and all of these social media platforms are free to join. And then just start connecting with women, or whoever your client is. It doesn't have to be women, but whoever your ideal client is. I think that's the best place to start. And when I talk about ideal client, I mean, you want to really niche down who you're actually wanting to connect with. Because if you have a business and you're like, I just want all women to do this, like, my client is all women, it's very hard to speak to all women. But if you can figure out, well, which women, at what stage of their life are they at? Are they, what kind of things have they been through? Have they got kids? Have they not got kids? Have they, so just actually getting a real niche picture of what that ideal client actually looks like. And then when you start to share about your brand and your services and your products or whatever, you say it in a language that connects with them. Like, you're speaking straight to that person. Like, if you were sitting down having a coffee with them, what would you say? And you just talk like that. So that would be the advice I would give, just to get really clear who it is exactly that you're trying to talk to. And then just start sharing and trust yourself. We're never going to get it perfect, and you can't get it wrong. So you might as well just get amongst it.
Yeah, so true. So do you recommend that people share via video or posts? Like, what's the best way to share?
Honestly, video content is king. So, I'm sure there'll be a few people squirming at that thought right now, because it takes something, right? It takes something to go live. It takes something to even just record a video and post it. And but with so much saturation of content online these days, you've got to stand out. And still images just barely get noticed in a world of like flashing video. And so video is really important. Also, you can't really get a feel from a photo. Nothing wrong with using photos, by the way. And like, definitely, like, take snaps of where you are and share. That's authentic marketing, right? Just like, this is what I'm up to, this is where I am. And just sharing parts of your day. It doesn't have to be all sales. It can just be them being let into your world. So photos are great for that. But in terms of actually really getting across who you are and what it is you're about, and the difference you're trying to make, or the story behind your product, or how you came up with what you're doing, there's only really video to do that, right? Like, I don't know how you can really capture that, the essence of it, or the energy of it. You can write a beautiful long blog post, and you can connect through words, sure, but in my opinion, if you can be brave enough, get a mixed video. Yeah.
Awesome. And what about, what do you think about Facebook ads or Instagram ads? Because there's so many going right now. Like every time I'm scrolling my feed, I can see like ads popping on and on, like it's, you know, one after the other. So what do you think about that? And if someone were to do ads, you know, what kind of budget does someone need to have? Or is it even worth it?
Yeah, look, I mean, the ads thing varies a bit, right? Because results are different for different people, and it is budget dependent on, in some ways. You know, you might have $100 to spend on an ad, or you might have $20 to spend on an ad, or a company might have, you know, $10,000 to spend on an ad. The main thing would be, especially for people on a budget with advertising, again, this goes back to why it's so important to know what your niche is, exactly who you're talking to, because with the Facebook and Instagram ads, when you set your ads up, you can target people really fine, like really succinctly. You know, you can say what part of the world they live in, what age they are, just about what color socks they have and what they have for breakfast. You can get really specific about who your ad's actually going to pop up in front of. And if you do that, you wouldn't need to spend as much money, because you're not going, I'm sending this ad out to the entire country and hoping it lands in front of somebody. You know, it's going to, you know, it might be, say, for example, it might be women who like a certain type of music. You know, you can, it's amazing what you can actually create with your ads. So the more you know your ideal customer, the more effective your ads will be. And then the second part to that is, you know, your experience, same as mine and maybe deep as well. When you get on your Instagram and you start scrolling and you're just like, you really want to see what your friends are up to, right? Or the people you're following, but instead it's ad after ad after ad after ad. So my advice there would be, create an ad that's a contribution, because we know what it feels like to just be so frustrated, and it's like the eye roll, you know, just like, oh, for goodness sake. So if you're going to create an ad, have it be about the person looking at it, and how can you be a contribution to them, because that makes a difference. If you're scrolling and you see a whole lot of spam, and then somebody's actually offering something that makes a difference for you, you're not going to mind it, and you might even follow them.
Yeah, I've had that experience. You're right about the advertisements, and just like, you know, sometimes they just like, you think you've found something great and you click and it's just like another advertisement, and there are like 4 ads in one ad. It's crazy.
Yes, it is crazy. And I mean, there's a lot of competition out there. So again, you know, I can start to see a trend in that people are craving authenticity. And, you know, there's people building massive brands, absolutely massive brands out of just showing up and being themselves. Like, really.
Perfect. So what mindset should women have when putting themselves out there?
I think there's 2 things. The first thing I would say is to know what your end goal is. And I don't mean end goal necessarily as in a specific amount of dollars in the bank, although you may want to know what that is as well. For example, if you're building a business, more like, what are you ultimately out to achieve or contribute? So if you think about what it is you're creating and your customers, and, you know, before you go to create your content, or before you come up with your marketing strategy, or before you post, get really present to what it is you're really up to. Because most people that, you know, say they might be selling beauty products, for example, or skincare or something like that, you know, that's what they're doing, right? They're doing a thing called selling skincare, but what they're really up to might be like women feeling empowered and like radiant goddesses, right? That might be what they're really up to behind their selling the skincare. So come from that and keep that in your mindset, is what am I really doing here? What am I really up to here? What am I really trying to achieve here? Big picture. And the other thing would be just to have courage, because it takes something. It really takes something to be authentic. It takes something to put yourself out there. And just know that the experience of fear only happens before we're in action. So, you know, say you're about to go live, for example, and you're freaking out and your whole body's like, you know, you got that you're just freaking out. Some people will just about feel like they're about to have a heart attack, you know, and they're like hovering over the live button and their whole body's like tingling and, you know, it's all intense and they're like, I can't do it. And they're all up in their head and feeling anxious. That feeling goes away as soon as you're live, because then it's on. You're not sitting there going into the camera. It's like it's live, and then you're like, hey guys, and then once you start talking, all of that actually goes away. So action kills fear. That would be my biggest mindset gift to anyone watching. If you're in fear, it's because you're not in action. So just start. And once you start, you experience yourself as someone that's overcome that fear, you feel empowered, and then suddenly you're doing the thing you thought you couldn't do.
That is so powerful. And I totally relate to that freak out moment before going live. It's like, oh my God, what am I supposed to say?
Really, because you're kind of like in the live, you're just looking at yourself, but still it's just so freaky.
I know, sometimes no one even there, and we're still scared. Literally scared of our own reflection. Yeah. But you would have found, like, when you've gone live, can you relate to that experience of feeling that fear? Yeah. But then once you're actually doing it, are you still terrified?
No, I think like the first few moments, it's like, you know, when it starts, it's like, ooh, and then I think when, like, for me personally, when I start talking, after the first 2 minutes, it's like I just calm down and I get present to what I'm talking about, and it's getting better and better as I do this more. But yeah, I think that's the thing for sure.
Yeah, really. Yeah. And have you ever found yourself freaking out before a live stream, hitting live, you know, feeling a bit nervous for the first tiny bit, and then finding yourself talk, and you're like, oh my gosh, I was just live for so long. Like, you can't shut up once you start, right?
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, initially it's like, oh my God, like, you know, I have to do live. It's like you're looking at it. Oh, I should be doing live. I think I should do it. It's like just building up. When you do it, it's just like, it's fine.
Yeah, I know, we get so in our head about stuff. And, you know, like the other thing that just popped into my mind too, like talking about from the heart and authentic. We know that I don't know if there's anyone that doesn't freak out a little bit about being live, right? Maybe not, you know, maybe to varying degrees, but I would assert there'd probably be something there for almost everybody before they go live. But authentic sharing could just look like feeling the fear, going live, and the first thing you say, instead of pretending you're not scared, is, hey guys, I've just been freaking out for 2 minutes before I hit live. Because then it's like the elephant in the room's gone. You don't have to pretend not to be scared. You could actually just say, I'm so scared to come on live. And then as soon as I start to say communicate your experience, I mean, that's pretty authentic. And I have seen that online where people have come on and they're like quivering wrecks almost. And they're like, oh, I can't believe this is my first live. And I hope I'm going to do it right. I don't really know what I'm doing. And, you know, it's very endearing. Whenever you see someone being that vulnerable and authentic, you're just like, oh, go you. You know, there's nothing there apart from support for people that are being authentic. So that's another thing to take on, is if you're feeling that fear, just communicate that's what's there.
I think also part of it is like the competition that people feel when you're looking at so many other people's lives, and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm nowhere gonna be able to show up like that. Or even like, you know, with creating, just like branding yourself or doing anything, when it comes to the competition, it's just so crazy at the moment when it comes to social media. So,
yes.
So it's like, how do you overcome that mindset where you're just not constantly like having to compete with everything else?
Well, the reality is there is a massive amount of competition, right? And in terms of social media, for example, they I'm not sure when or who did this, but there was a study done where they figured out how many times people would have to be exposed to a brand before they'd buy. And like years ago, when social media was relatively new, it was like 2 or 3 times that they'd hear about the brand, and it would be familiar enough that it would be in their mind, and they'd think of it when they needed the thing or whatever, the service. Now, and this has probably gone up again since I last looked, it's about like 16 to 18 times that people have to hear you, know about you, see something. So that's why sharing's really important. But, you know, your question was, what did you say just before? It was really important. And I don't want to skip over that, about the competition. What was the actual question around that?
About like, how do people like deal with the massive amount of competition and like, you know, yeah, just putting yourselves out there, but you know, you have to keep that in mind and then separate yourself from that.
Yeah, it's a little bit of both. I think my advice there would be, you've already got something that no one will ever be able to compete with. Now, you could make the best product on the planet. Someone can go and copy it, right? You could come up with the most clever way to lose weight out of anyone across all time and space, and someone can go and copy it. There's one thing that everybody has, though, that cannot be copied and that can never be competed against, and that's you. Which is another reason why being authentic and just showing up as you and being a face of your brand, like being out the front of your brand, no one can ever copy that. So I hear what you're saying. Yes, there is a lot of competition, and if you're trying to compete for the best product or the best service, it's going to be really tough. But no one can compete with you just showing up you.
Absolutely. So another question I have is like, you know, when it comes to sharing, like you said, you know, people would have to see you 16 to 18 times before they actually, you know, can consider your opportunity. So how many times do you think people should be sharing, like in a day or maybe during the week?
Look, that varies. I don't know if you've heard of Gary Vaynerchuk. Have you heard of Gary V?
Yes.
Yeah.
So Gary V would say all day, every day, right? That would be his answer. Like, don't stop. Like, he'd have you live all day, like a reality show, you know. And I agree with him in a lot of ways, because the more you share, like, the more people are in your world. However, it's consistency, and whatever consistency looks like for you is okay. I think it's quite easy to get overwhelmed with, I've got to post 5 times a day on Instagram and 3 times a day on Facebook, and I've got to do 2 stories and this, and like, you know, post in 20 groups, and it can get crazy. But I would just say, at the beginning, at least anyway, just create something for you and then just be your word about it. You know, I know a guy that's built a huge brand, and he posts every Monday morning at 6 a.m. And that's his thing. He goes live for an hour every Monday morning, and people know and they expect him. And he's never missed. He has never missed in about 2 years his 6 a.m. Monday live stream. And so he's managed to build followers and build an audience, but most of all, what he's built with them is trust. So having that just consistency. Now, you might post once on Monday and once on Friday, or you might post once a day. It doesn't matter what it is, but create something that your people start to expect. Like, oh, it's Wednesday afternoon. I wonder when Deep's going to be online. You know, oh, I must, you know, oh, that's right, Deep does a live stream this afternoon. So give them something that they can look forward to, something that they come to expect of you. And that can be whatever that looks like for you. And then, yeah, as you can and when you can keep increasing that.
That's amazing. Those are like some really, really amazing tips, honestly. I think anyone that's trying to put themselves out there is going to really benefit from all of these strategies, and, you know, if they were to really take it on.
Yes.
So yeah, I really do feel like we can keep going here, because you're like,
I know, it'd be so easy to talk today. Before we go though, I've got one thing that I really just thought I must say about the video thing, right? This is partly why it's really important. Have you heard of the word algorithm?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so Facebook, Instagram, all of that, the algorithm is what decides what you see, right? So whatever pops up, unless it's an ad and they've actually targeted you, but your organic feed, what pops up on your news feed, is all based on what Facebook decides it's going to prioritize in its algorithm. And video is one of those things. You get way more reach out of an organic post if you post video. You get even more if it's live. And if you are posting pre-recorded videos, a little video hack would be to make sure that they're 3 minutes or longer, because at the moment they're favoring, they want people to be using the features on the platform. So one of the ways to, especially if you don't have money for advertising, if you want to figure out how to kind of hack the algorithm or get the best reach possible without money, then use the features they have, use the polls, use the live streams. They put them there because they're trying to create the platform that way. So people who use them win. Anyway, one sneaky little last tip.
That's amazing. We love it. Absolutely awesome. So Chante, like, where can people connect with you? And really, if they wanted to reach out to you, where would be the best place?
Yeah, look, you can just look me up on LinkedIn's a great place. Chante Neblett on LinkedIn. You can find me Chante_Neblett, I think. Oh, Instagram. Yeah, pretty sure it's underscore. But to be honest, I don't actually use Instagram very much these days, so it's probably not the best bet. I would go with LinkedIn first. Chante Neblett. Add me on LinkedIn. And by the way, marketing tip: get yourself on LinkedIn. If you're not there already, get yourself amongst it, because that is where thought leadership is beginning, and it's starting to take off now. The algorithm's still pretty strong though, so if you're not already using LinkedIn and connecting with the people you want to serve or partner with, then make sure you do that. So yeah, Chante Neblett, LinkedIn, or feel free to add me on Facebook. I'm one of Semar and Deep's friends too, so if you find them first, you can find me too.
Yes, absolutely. Oh, well, thank you so much, Chante. This has been absolutely amazing. I think everyone's going to get so much value out of it. And thank you for taking the time. And yeah, it's just so great to have you here.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me. It's been such a pleasure. I love both of you. You're so amazing. And I really acknowledge you for who you are for women. And everything that you're creating, and anybody that's been watching this, just really make sure you keep on top of what these ladies are up to, because there's going to be a lot of contribution coming your way. So really, really big acknowledgement to both of you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.